As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Taking them so long.
Hey, these guys are professionals. They're the best.
Totally. I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Oh, yeah, the Great Bambino. Of course. I thought you said the Great Bambi.
It's the Al Travis Show. We do this on our Wednesdays. We give up the last hour to Senator Susan Kent on a program we called Clean Up in Aisle 9, or Yeah, But. How are you doing, Senator?
Cold.
See, it's funny. For the green room stuff, if we got a green room here, when you're just before we go on, it's like, how are you doing, Al? And I'm like, I got no time today. I just not happy. What about you? The weather. I can't get over the weather. And like, the weather, world's coming crashing to an end. And Susan's like, I hate this weather. I'm like, yeah, that's what we got to worry about.
I feel like I'm not alone.
No, and you're not. I think you were surprised when I said it didn't bother me, because it takes me out of my.
Thing. Yeah, I get the rain thing.
It gets the yard cleaned up. I don't have to mow. I mean, I don't have to keep watering the lawn. I was happy with it.
Yeah,
but you brought a thing.
I'm loving the rain. But, yeah.
But weather does tell us a lot about ourselves and our family and that sort of thing. You said, if I can, you're one of those families that once the heater's off, it's off for good. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I think in my mindset here too, it's like once we hit 90, the heater's off. It's just sort of like, and it's not physical, it's a mental thing, and it's like, nope, I'm not giving back in. We're not going back to fourth winter. We're going to stick with spring and summer.
See, for folks who don't know, you're from Louisiana, New Orleans, right?
And
were you this?
Yeah.
Were you the same way with AC?
No, but let's be clear. I lived in a very old house. And this was back in the
swamp ACs
70s. I mean, it had the big crawl space underneath, because those houses are built to be cooled off in the summer, right?
Yeah.
And so we had little bitty room unit ACs, and our heating system, I swear to God, was gas operated fireplaces. And I learned to turn on my gas fireplace at a scandalously young age, and there was one night when I was doing homework, and I swear to God, I got the fire had gone out, but the gas was still going, and I was having carbon monoxide poisoning happening in my head. So, yeah.
But somehow we survived it all.
I did not have central nothing for HVAC.
See, and again, it's how you're raised. My dad, very much the same thing. No, I'm not turning the AC. I'm not turning the heat back on. I'm like, why not? Because I turn the air conditioner on now, and that's what we do.
Right.
I said, Dad, I don't know what year you think it is. You don't have to go out and crawl under the unit. There's the button. Right. Just turn it from heat to AC, and now you're back to warm.
Right.
But he fights it. And I think for me, well, see, and that's, you got to rebel. My thing is, and again, I am not a rich man. I've got plenty, but I'm not a rich man. But I'll be darned if I'll be cold. One thing, since I bought a house, we're going to buy a house that we can afford, that I can afford to turn on. In the wintertime, 71 down, it would be 69 downstairs because the heat rises, and 71 up in the bedroom area. That's the same in the summertime when I go and I turn the AC on. You got to flip everything over. I got it. Some people, you can save $10 a month if you put it. I'm going to be comfortable. I thoroughly believe there's a limit in the summertime on how much a full overgrown man like myself can take off in public and wander around.
Right.
It's 2025. We have air conditioning units. Yeah. I have no problem. So it got cold. My wife looked at me. She put a little blanket on when we were watching TV. I said, what do you got a blanket on for? She says, it's chilly. Walked right over that thing.
Pushed a button.
Put the heat on. 10 minutes later, it's like, this is America 2025. No, people, I know they're whining. Folks on your side, oh, you're burning gas. Put a sweater on. You know what? If we're going to be shooting people up to Mars because we just want to see what's up there, we got that kind of gas, I can turn my heat on.
I'm consistent on this one. I don't believe in that either. So.
Okay. You're the one who proves the point. I have always been, no, I'm going to be warm. Now, I do flip the lights off when I leave a room. I taught my kids the same thing. Their dad got something. But the idea that you live in a country where you can go, and not everybody has this. God bless us.
Right.
Walk over and hit the button. Now it heats up the house, and walk over there and you cool it down.
But this is my point. This is my but. Okay, it's purely mental. I've gone through this entire because this is extended for a while. I didn't think it was going to be this cool for this long. So you figure I'll throw a blanket on. It'll be fine. And I have this whole like progression that I go through the year in the clothes that I wear around my house, and it's like in the cold time of year, it's sweats and fleece, and then that goes down to leggings, and then it goes to shorts, right, and then it reverses, right. So I was like, I am not going back to my sweats. Yep, the sweats are on. Okay, I'm putting socks back on, and I finally broke down and started wearing my.
There's got to be help for people like you. There just has to be. You're kind of like that. Oh, I should have said the large man that goes to Walmart wearing shorts in the middle of 30 below winter, but then has a winter jacket on. Oh, I can take it. No, you're kind of a fool. Put the pants on. I have, except for we just keep thinking it's like, well, we're fine. And we do have in our family room, we have a really lovely, very fuel efficient gas fireplace, so. Yeah. That's easy and it keeps the living space warm, but and then the down blanket never goes away, so that's fine at night. You're from New Orleans, so this doesn't work for you. But up here, the reason we have this issue, and I'm sure my father has it and his parents did, at one point, if you're going to heat the place back up, you had to go, use the Buffalo Cow Pie Reserve that you need when it's really bad, so you don't just waste it. I get it. That was a lot of work. Right. That's generations ago. We're beyond it.
Yes, we're beyond it. No, it's like I said, it's purely mental. It is purely a state of mind about the weather and the seasons. And I was ready for spring and summer. And so, yeah.
I want to see what you think about this. Today's show has been very interesting with the guests I've had on and maybe the awakening of Al Travis. We had on first thing this morning, Senator Lopez Franzen. She announced, it's the first radio show she did, by the way, after announcing that she's getting out. I've always been a big fan. Again, wouldn't vote anyway she votes, but much like yourself,
sometimes you would, and sometimes you'd even vote ways I voted. Just saying,
this would be an anomaly. The matrix we'd have to check, but she's a lot like you, and I mean this in all the. I said to Putnam as well. There are just some folks in your line of work. She looks you in the eye. She listens. She's heard you. She may still go vote her. I get it, but I appreciate her for that. I always have. I liked it when she got in the Senate race, right? At that point, we just had Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan in. She jumps in. I'm like, this is going to be a race. Couple good quality people. And this is for Senator Tina Smith's spot. Then Angie Craig gets in, Congressman Craig. And I'm like, it was tough for both of them. I think we got a new leader. But I like the idea that you would have had three quality candidates, and I'll throw three quality women candidates all running for that. I think that would have been good for Minnesota.
Yep.
But because of finances, because there wasn't a lane, if you will, that was just hers, because of all this other crap that we've put into the world, the electorate,
right.
We lose a good candidate. I mean, I'm not ripping either of the other two. This is nothing against them, but the more in the merrier. But you know what? The way you're treated when you run, the amount of money you got to make, it wasn't worth it for her because she couldn't see a path. That's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you and I actually talked about this after, I'm glad you gave her own slot today instead of taking mine again, but okay.
Just no kidding. Hard feelings here. I'm over it.
I'm just teasing, and I adore Melissa. You know that. But
yes.
I said at the time, I could see this going either way, right? Because clearly, on the political spectrum, and you've got the lieutenant governor who already has statewide recognition, and you've got Congresswoman Angie Craig who also has pretty broad recognition because she's already got federal office. And one is definitely more progressive and one is definitely more moderate. And I would argue that Melissa is in the middle there, and which could be a really good place, right? But in the course of the process of getting to the endorsement and the primary, that's a question, right? I mean, how does that work? And so I respect her completely, and I haven't had a chance to talk to her since this. But it is hard. It is hard to run. It is hard to battle it out in this kind of an environment. I always tell people, it's like politics is brutal. The worst times are when you're fighting with your friends. And so, I can see where she's got other stuff in her life, and she just may have recognized this isn't the right time.
That is kind of my point, though, because she had a very nice job at the University of Minnesota, making pretty good money, doing her thing, but she sees a place where she can make a difference. And again, so you get in. If we were in olden days, like in my youth, you could get in to make nothing more than a difference. Let's just say she's that middle ground. It's going to force Peggy to come over. It's going to force Craig to come over. It's going to force the party to be better. Everybody's got to answer the question. Even if she goes, you know what, I can do it for that reason alone. I'm going to be that. But because of the money loss, because of the amount of money you've got to raise just to keep a campaign going, the amount of slings and arrows that get just dirty these days, why would she put her family through it just to do that for the party? That's what I mean. More the merrier. If we had 25 people on the Republican side, even though we don't have, better, right? We'll whittle it down. We'll find out what we really want. But it's just sad that a quality candidate, a person like her, has to bow out weeks after giving up. She just gave up a wonderful job at the U, and now her family's technically, she's smart. She'll find something, but she's back a slot, right?
She'll be fine. Absolutely. Yeah. So, absolutely.
Okay. It's a process.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah.
Put that down as the second thing in 2.5 years we'd agreed on. We've got more coming up right after this. Senator Susan Kent on the Yeah Bud Show.
Dust from gravel roads and driveways does more than make your car dirty inside and out. It gets down into your lungs, and it's bad for your health. Now there's an environmentally friendly solution for your dust problems. It's called DustLock. DustLock can control all your summer dust problems with just one application. Protect your vehicle and your lungs. Learn more at dustlock.com.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
Amongst friends, the Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
We've got our Senator Susan Kent on the program with us. Senator, lots to be disappointed of, I think, so far in the legislative session here in Minnesota. I don't think it's a shock. You start 3 weeks late. The Supreme Court's got to come in and decide what is, and all the rest. This was a bad start to a session when it was going to be very tough. 34-33, 67-6. I mean, the fact we didn't get done on time, don't color me shocked. But here's the one that gets
I mean, unless we have not gotten done on time, except when we've had unified control. You know what I mean?
So I mean, this shouldn't be a shocker.
That is true. You know, regardless of start times, that was the case for me every single session except for the first one, which was trifecta. Yeah,
I'm just saying, so nothing to be shocked on. Here's the one that gets me though, because not a friend that I have, no one that I've talked to about this, is for waste and fraud. Nobody. Well, right, except we had a bill very early on, the Republicans put it up, I believe, that said basically if you work for the state of Minnesota and you suspect fraud, you must turn it in. We voted that down on a partisan basis. Fine. We have Senator Gustafson coming on the show very early on with the IG bill. Love this idea. Got Republicans on side. The Senate, bipartisan, they're jumping all over this thing. We're going to go get it. It dies in the House. It dies. If I'm going to be disappointed about anything, it's the idea that we can't come together and try to stop the bad guys from stealing our money, stealing from the kids, the feeding our future kids. How does that not get done, in your opinion? That's got to be a 90 to 10. If you surveyed people, there's no way all of us in Minnesota can't say, what?
So I actually am not up to on the details of that one and why that happened that way. So I am purely speculating based on past,
because you've been there, done
kinds
that.
of things, right? Yeah. And it could be that it was being used as a bargaining chip. It could be that there were certain aspects of the language that some people, because this does happen a lot, like people will like an idea, but say the way this one part is structured or written or whatever, it leaves an open door for some other big problem, So until we can feel comfortable that we're not creating a new problem, and we all talk about the unexpected consequences, it could be something like that. But because, and again, I want to go look it up.
Okay. Well, let me throw it this way, because I understand your point. We want to make sure that's right, the rule's right, but we don't do it with other things. I would throw pot out as an example, because we have 3 stories today about the pot thing. The governor comes out and says, okay, tribes, you can have 8 spots outside tribal land now. It's like, wait a minute, all these people paid money to get the right to do that. You're working at it. Now we started a business, the pot business, going to be 10% tax, but before it even opens up, you've made it 15% tax. They said that the THC drink guys, now none of this makes any sense to me. I don't follow along, but you can have 10 millibars of THC in it, whatever it is. Well, they don't want it to sound like 10, so they can say you can have in one cup 2 servings of 5. Yeah. It's like, do you tell me the pot thing was figured out before we put it out there? I mean, we haven't even got a guy to run it yet.
This is one of those, how the sentence is structured it matters on the meaning. I'm not saying it happens all the time like that, but I'm saying it definitely happens where there's a good idea, but there are actual legitimate concerns about aspects of the language that causes people to say, nope, we can't support this until we fix that.
So I don't disagree, but this had a Republican and a Democrat that sponsored this thing. A lot of people in the Senate. Get her fixed is my point. This is what the people want. I believe everybody wants us to stop giving our money to crazy people who just walk in and take it from us. Stop everything. Start doing that.
I will point to our U.S. Congress right now, because oftentimes the biggest fights aren't between the parties, it's between the House and the Senate. Yeah. And I watch that happen a lot myself. And so it could be that, the Senate's fine with it, but for whatever reason and whatever dynamics are going on in the House, they're having an issue that the Senate can't fix because the House won't listen to the Senate and vice versa. I want to be equal time.
And I give you that. I'm just saying, of all the things, stopping bad people from doing bad things. Well, I didn't like the language in it. Well, you write it down and we'll talk about it. But here's the other thing, because I want to talk about this on the other side, if you're okay. The strangest thing happened last Thursday. All the parties that be the governor's giving a speech saying, hey, we got it. We got the numbers. We got everything done. No one got what they wanted, but everybody had to give up a little something. And you start hearing a banging on the door behind them. And you're like, whoa, now they're screaming. You're like, what are those Republicans doing? And then you find out it wasn't them. There's a lot going on up there, and I want to talk about it. We got to do it on the other side. Is that fair?
Sure. If we can talk about it in Congress, too.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Things aren't sweet right now, people. We'll talk about it coming up.